Speaking about strikers, because if a few days ago we spoke about Scamacca, today we are here to speak about Morata. Look, have I got any updates on the two? Is Scamacca favourable? Is Scamacca closer? Is Morata closer? And all of that? No. These remain the two biggest striker priorities. These two players remain the two players which we are focusing the most when it comes to searching a new striker. As of today, would I bet money on who I think will join Roma? I would still bet my money on Scamacca. However, I don't think Milan are leading the race to sign Morata anymore. And some sources, which are pretty big sources this morning, such as Il Corriere dello Sport. If you're in Italy, you know what it is. If you're not in Italy, you should know what it is. It's one of the biggest sport newspapers, football newspapers here in Italy. This newspaper said that apparently Mourinho and Dybala have called Morata to try and convince him. Is this fake news? It can be. It can be. Has this been confirmed by big sources? It has not been confirmed by big sources. But I can see it happen. I can see it happen because out of the two strikers, Morata is more of a Mourinho type striker. Out of the two strikers, I would definitely think Mourinho would prefer Morata over Scamacca. The dream would be to have them both because, as we said many times, we need two strikers. We need two strikers because with Tammy being injured, if we just get one striker and have Belotti as a backup, and let's say, by some weird voodoo mystery, that player gets injured, we are stuck with Belotti until both of Tammy and the potential new striker are back from the injuries. This is why it's a must to get two strikers in this transfer window. To get both Morata and Scamacca, it would obviously be everyone's dream here because they are two great strikers. And obviously getting both of them would be a massive step. You're launching an alert to every big team which you're fighting against to get top four. Well, you know what? I have an attack of Morata, Scamacca, Tammy when he's back from his injury, and Belotti. That is in our dreams. Do I think that will happen? No, I don't think that will happen. But look, let's speak about Morata. When I mean... Sorry, let me quickly turn the AC on because I'm about to die here. Right, there we go. It's like... I'm sure it's reached 40 degrees Celsius today in Italy, in Rome. Anyways, it's on. Let's continue speaking. Why do I say Morata is more of a Mourinho-type striker? It's very simple. Because Mourinho searches big personality in strikers. For Mourinho, a striker isn't just a player who bags the goals. For Mourinho, a striker is a player which needs to sacrifice himself. And Morata is a player which, as we already discussed, doesn't guarantee you 30 goals per season. But he guarantees you sacrifices. And this is exactly why we have seen Belotti extend his contract with Roma. Because Mourinho likes him. Does he score goals? He used to. Does he score goals with us? No, he hasn't. Does he play for the team? Does he sacrifice himself for the team? Does he fight for the team? Is he more than just a goal scorer? He fulfills all of that. And that is exactly what we are seeing Belotti stay with us. Morata is a better style player than Belotti. He's a very similar Belotti player, but he's better than that. He bags the goals. He knows how to bag the goals because he's a Spanish national team. He is a team with plenty of experience, both in the Italian league, both in the Champions League and big tournaments. So yes, Morata doesn't guarantee you a goals galore each season, but Morata guarantees you experience. And another thing which Morata guarantees you is what Belotti guarantees you, which is sacrifices. Morata is a team player. Morata is a striker, which 80% of the times plays as one of those defensive physical strikers. And another thing about Morata is this. We have seen performances of Morata lately who basically he devoured some goals which even I would have scored. But one thing which Morata can do perfectly, and I think it's a bonus over Scamacca, over Tammy, over Belotti, is that Morata knows how to behave himself in the box. Now, when I say this, you're probably going, well, that's what a striker needs to do. And you're absolutely right. But Morata knows how to behave inside the box. For example, you look at Tammy. You look at second season Tammy, because look, first season Tammy was a great striker. But you look at second season Tammy, and all Tammy did in that box was this. That is not how a striker behaves. A striker needs to know where to go in that box. A striker needs to go how to move around the box. A striker needs to know all of the movements of interceptions, intercepting that ball, heading it in the box. And that's something which Morata knows how to do perfectly. This is why Morata would be Mourinho's preferable striker. This is why Morata would be my preferable striker. Because as much as I think, look, I've said this yesterday. As of now, I would want any striker because we need a striker. We need to start the preseason, ideally from the very start. It started today. Within the next few weeks, we need a striker. We need a striker to kind of balance out the preseason tactics. So I don't care who we get, but we need a striker. I've said it many times. I would love both Scamacca or Morata or both of them and either or. But if I had to choose, I would choose Morata. Another reason why I choose Morata is because he knows Dybala really well. He knows Dybala really well, and that obviously, if you've got a great chemistry between your offensive midfielders and your strikers, that will guarantee you more goals. Yes, the reason why a team scores goals is because you have good goal scorers. But another reason why big teams score a lot of goals is because the chemistry is there. And we've lacked transitioning chemistry from the midfield to the attack. So yeah, that's what I would say. I think Morata is the preferable striker. Now I know Milan are also interested in him, and Saudi teams are interested in him. And with Saudi teams you're never sure, because yes, a player could go, yeah, I'm not interested in Saudi teams, but then when they actually get that offer, they could change their idea really quick. So Saudi teams are interested in him. Milan is the only other Italian team which is interested in Morata. However, some big newspaper sources are saying that right now Roma are really leading the race because apparently there has been contact between Jose and Dybala. This is something which we will never know because Jose will not say, oh yes, I called Morata yesterday. This is something which may be true and we will never know. It may be false and we will never know. But another thing which I want to link to this. By the way, if you haven't already, smash the like button. It supports this community a lot. So yeah, please take 2 seconds to smash the like button. The other thing which I would say, which again, I'm sure I've mentioned, it would not make sense for us to not buy a big name this summer. It just wouldn't make sense. Again, when I say a big name for a team like Roma who doesn't play Champions League is nothing bigger than Rodrigo de Paul. Rodrigo de Paul is the biggest of players that we can get in this summer window. And oh boy, I would love Rodrigo de Paul. But I again, as I said before, I'm sure I've said this already. I believe we will sign a surprise similar Rodrigo de Paul caliber player. But I say this not because I'm a wishful thinking person. I say this because it wouldn't make sense if we don't sign a big player like Rodrigo de Paul. Because if the Fredkins have publicly said that their mission is to expand the merchandise and the brand, and in the first year you get Paulo Dybala, why the hell in the second year you don't buy anyone? It just something which it's like a puzzle with missing pieces. It does not make sense. I am sticking with the idea that I do think we will get a big name. One big name. One. Yes, only one. But I do think we will get one. And this is why, one of the reasons why Pinto might, again, I'm not sure about this. This is an opinion. Might be delaying some things. Is because he might be working on signing a surprise type player. You never know. But again, it wouldn't make sense if we don't buy a big name. because then this expanding the brand deal would make no sense. So we need to give a continuation to this as well. If the big objective of the Fredkins is to expand the brand, then you need a big name this summer. Especially because we don't play in the Champions League. Had we played in the Champions League, then that would have been used to obviously expand the brand. But what are we going to use to expand the brand now that we don't play in the Champions League? And, you know, we need play. We need big names. We need that shocker. And then another thing which happened today is the UEFA. UEFA kind of compromising with Mourinho. Now, if you've read the latest news, basically Mourinho this season in press conferences, in Europa League press conferences, has said multiple times how he did not like the idea of Champions League teams getting relegated in the Europa League or Europa League teams getting relegated in the Conference League, because it would kind of ruin the performance of teams which have qualified for those tournaments, if you get the point. And Mourinho doesn't like that. And today, surprise, surprise, UEFA has said that starting from next year, they won't allow this anymore, and that they will abolish this rule, meaning that teams going from the teams can't be going from the Champions League to the Europa League, and teams going from the Europa League can't be going to the Conference League. Is this a way of a compromise? Deep down, I think it is, because they know themselves that the world knows that they hate Mourinho and that there is a war going on between them and Mourinho. So to kind of bring it closer, the two sides, they have given this little compromise. It's a shit compromise, because they are using this to try and forget us from that Europa League final. They are using this pretext as, oh well, you know, I'm gonna give Mourinho credit for once, so that fans now think that the UEFA Football Association is tying hands with Mourinho. That is utter bullshit, because this will not eliminate what that association has done to this team and to that manager. So, to be honest with you, you ask me, it's a terrible compromise, because what a compromise really is publicly saying that you've made mistakes, publicly saying that you were wrong. That is not going to happen, obviously, because they're not going to make themselves look bad. So this is definitely a way to compromise with him. It's a bad way to compromise. It's a childish way to compromise. It's like 2-3-year-olds wanting to play on a seesaw, but you know the other guy doesn't want to let the seesaw go, and he doesn't want to let you the seat. And you're complaining, and you're like, oh well, you know what? I'm not gonna buy you ice cream if you don't give me that seesaw place, or that swing place. If you don't let me ride that swing, I'm not gonna buy you an ice cream. It's that childish that it really makes us laugh, because that's not a compromise. That's just you reformulating your own rules to make yourself look good, and to make yourself look as if you are shaking hands with Mourinho and going, oh well, yeah, I am now agreeing with Mourinho for once. So, yeah. Anyways, let's close that bracket. Another bracket which I want to open is contracts. As much as we definitely, the thing is, it's not time for contracts. Apart from Dybala. Dybala is the only contract we need to sort out right now. Other than that, we can't be focusing and wasting our transfer window time on contracts, which we can sort when the transfer window closes. Apart from Dybala, as I just said. This is not time for renewals of contracts. This is not time for extensions of contracts. This is time to recruit new players. New contracts, we can deal with that in September. So yeah. But Roma is working on Bove's new contract and Zaleski's new contract. Two Roma boys, which we've grown from the academy, two players which need to remain with this team. I'm not going to say forever, because these days you just get fooled if you say forever, but for a long time. Especially Bove. Because Bove is special. And I'm not just saying that because I got the kit. we need to learn from our mistakes, meaning that we've seen what happens with Frattesi when we let a potential interesting talent go away. We need to be brave and keep them. We need to go against big offers and go, no, I'm keeping him, I've grown him, I've planted the seed for him, he's staying with me. So we are working for Bove and Zalewski's new contracts. Again, there's a lot of optimism. These deals will be, especially Bove, these deals will be sorted out very soon. Bove won't leave, neither will Zalewski. But yeah, I just don't feel like it's time for new contracts right now. We can do that in September. Apart from Dybala, as I just said, we need to sit down with Dybala, eliminate that release clause, because yes, as much as Dybala got, he got interviewed yesterday at the airport asking, will you stay in Rome? He said yes. Training sessions restart today. I'm buzzing, can't wait. And that obviously is kind of a promise. After that, I would give it a 0.0000001% chance that Dybala leaves. Dybala will stay, and we knew this from the very beginning. But the problem is this. The problem with this is that, and again, I'm not saying Dybala will leave. Dybala won't leave this year. I'm not saying Dybala will leave next year. I'm not saying Dybala will leave in 3 years. However, you always have a risk with that release clause, because it's one of those release clauses which, if a team really wants Dybala, they are going to snatch him from us. Like that. Not even thinking about it. 12 million for a team like Chelsea is literally equivalent to 20 cents for us. So the release clause is absolutely criminal, and we have to eliminate it. Because yes, I love Dybala and the fact that he's putting us above everything, but if a team really wants him, they are going to get him. And the worry, in my opinion, as much as Premier League teams are very interested in him, is not that. Because I don't think, and I've said this already, Dybala knows that the Premier League is not for him. But the problem will come. This summer it won't come because Dybala stays. Again, as I said, I think there's a 0.0001% chance that he leaves and any team activates that release clause. Problem is next year. And the problem comes from a desert in Saudi Arabia. Yes. Because if the Saudis are doing what they're doing this year, they are only going to improve. Meaning that next year, they're going to recruit even more players from our leagues. And Dybala will without a doubt be one of their next targets. Dybala is smarter than just yes to money. But that yes won't last forever. In a sense that if Club X from Saudi Arabia offers him a contract of 60 million euros per season, obviously he will end up saying yes. This is exactly why that release clause needs to go. And Dybala needs to work with his head. And I know he does, because I know he's a smart lad. But we need to keep these distances from these rich clubs. Unlike Milinkovic-Savic. Lazio's such a banter club. I mean, you love to see it. They qualify for the Champions League and their biggest player wants to leave. I mean, how can it get better than that? And look, people are going, oh, Simon, don't say that because they're going to get 40 million to reinvest in the summer window. Trust me, they won't. Because their owner is one of the most arrogant twats out there. I don't know why I'm complaining. You would love to see it. But it is absolute banter. A team which qualifies for the Champions League and their biggest player wants to leave. I mean, everybody take a laugh because they can't get better than this. And you know what? I'm going to use yet another stream to criticize Lazio. To be more specific, Milinkovic. I'm going to criticize Milinkovic. I'm going to criticize a player which Lazio fans have even dared to compare with Paulo Dybala. Milinkovic-Savic, nowadays, my generation, Generation Z, Generation Z, you know all of those rappers. I'm not a big fan of rap, but you know all of those rappers which love those bad words to make their music lit. And if you know, you probably know that one of the most used words to say if a person is, lightheaded, not even lightheaded. If a person is not ready to take challenges, nowadays we call them pussies. And again, sorry for the language, but I have to use this because it's a perfect example. Milinkovic Savic is a pussy. You know, like, imagine little baby saying, "Oh, you push." He's that. He is an absolute P-word. Because he never wanted, in his entire career, take a jump and a step forward, improving yourself, challenging yourself. That's something which he never did. He's always stayed at Lazio. You know, he was close to move to Juventus, and then he said no because he didn't want that step. Now that his team qualified for the Champions League, he moves to Saudi Arabia. I mean, come on, grow up. Take some challenges in life. You're playing the Champions League, you're about to play in the Champions League, and you say yes to Saudi Arabia. And they dared to compare this guy with Paulo Dybala. Like, oh my God, what has happened to football? What has happened to football? And I know it's hard to say no to a 60 million offer, but man, you just worked your entire ass to make those delusional fans happy, qualify for Champions League, reach the biggest level of your career, and then you say yes to Saudi Arabia. Like, I don't know why I'm complaining. I love to see this, but again, I just needed to use that little span to criticize them, because it's always great to criticize them. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, I'm done with today. I've enjoyed it. We went through a lot. We went through Morata, Scamacca, marketing hits, new contracts, and then this little banter by Lazio. Hope you enjoyed it. If you haven't already, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. Let me know in the comments your thoughts and impressions on the topics that we discussed today. By the way, yeah, I always say this, but smashing that like button takes literally 2 seconds, and it supports this channel and community a lot. So if everybody can click that like button before going home, or going back to work, or going back to sleep, or drinking coffee, if you can take 2 seconds to smash it, it would support me a lot. And yeah, I am going to catch you tomorrow. Take care. Talk to you soon. Simo out.